Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Tom Stewart here. I'm with Liz Trotter. This is Smart Business Moves. Our special guest today, Matt Ricketts, is with us, and Joe Walsh is in the house. Hey, guys, how's everybody doing?
Is it bad to say these are two of my favorite people on here? Is that bad?
Not if it's true. Not if it's true.
Yeah, I love having you guys on here.
So, hey, I don't get tired of hearing that. You can say that as much as you
I'm with Liz Trotter. This is Smart Business Move.
Sorry.
Hey, what's that?
My Facebook popped up this meeting all of a sudden, and we got the feedback of ourselves. Sorry about that.
No
That was
worries.
crazy.
Close that tab really quick.
Yeah, it's not the worst thing that's happened to me today.
Matt, can you hear all right? Usually you struggle whenever we're on a call together. You hear funkiness with me?
I heard it a little bit, but it's better now. I think it's off and on, but
Okay.
I hope it's not me. I've muted mine and it still happens. It's the feedback between you and Tom, the distance, I think, sometimes. So
Yeah, that's gotten us into trouble a lot over the years.
All right. Well, good. I'm glad. Hey, Denise. Okay, who's our Facebook user? Robin, Sarah, Linda. It was Linda last time. Who are you?
Okay.
Anonymous Facebook user.
Okay, so I try to take it upon myself to keep an eye on the news, especially on days that we do smart business moves, because sometimes things happen that, can affect us as cleaning business owners. And I completely did a dismal job of that today. So I'll kind of throw it out there. Does anything happen today? What happened,
No.
Lynn?
Cryptocurrency. Whoosh.
Oh, it's tanking, isn't it? I heard that on
Crash. You got to
CNBC.
buy. If you've been wanting to buy, today's the day.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? Oh, good. Investment advice. I'm doing that.
There we go.
yeah.
So,
If you want to get in, today's
So-
the day.
Now's the time, huh?
So I introduced Joe to this investment book that I read, and he's like, "This is the most conservative investment stuff ever," but I'm going to take some of this advice and use it. I'm so conservative. Crypto is like the last thing I would ever put any of my money into. It's like, I get it. Like maybe some people have gotten rich off of it. It just, if I don't believe it or understand it, I won't put my money into it. It's like, it just doesn't, I don't value that, but I get it, man. It's a lot of people are doing really well with it. If you had started at the beginning of this year, and even at the beginning of COVID, it was probably around, $10,000 for one coin for maybe a little
Bitcoin,
less
yeah.
for a Bitcoin, and it reached $50,000 2 weeks ago. I think it was down to $30,000, and it's back up to 39. So you could have timed the market
This morning
today,
was good.
bought at 30, and it's back up to 39. So it's back up 25%. I mean, it's certainly not a hedge against inflation or a safe place to put your money.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you had some money you could play with, it'd be a fun
Yeah.
thing. Because I mean, that's kind of cool. I know some people who have done well with it too.
Sure.
I mean,
It's really not retirement planning advice. It's not
No.
your retirement plan to invest in cryptocurrency. But
It's not advice at all coming from me, you guys. I'm just saying, if you already plan to buy, today's the day.
hey,
oh, come on, Liz. You called me up and said, Tom, take all your PPP money
Come on
and put it in Bitcoin. Today's the day.
So I seriously do know somebody that put idle money in today.
Oh God, it's back up to 39,000 though. So it dipped down to 30 and it's back up. I thought it was down to 30 at one point today. Maybe that's just a steady decline. I'll have to look. I thought I saw it as low as 30, and it's at 38 right now, 39.
Hey, Diane. Hey, Ron. Hi, Robin. Oh, Linda's there. Oh, that was Sam. Hey, Sam. My son-in-law loves crypto. He does. So he's got a chunk of change in there.
crypto.
Yeah, I'm on Coinbase right now trying to see what the prices
Can't you
are.
mine it too? I've got like 4 extra computers, and somebody told me you could mine crypto.
Yeah,
That's
there was.
environmentally unfriendly now. They figured out that the electricity consumed to get one coin, now that they're so scarce, is contributing to climate change, and just it's
Oh wow!
It's bad right now.
bad. Yeah.
Wow.
There was a point. There was a point where, like, and it always probably it still is. This is that the amount of money that was consumed to make a Bitcoin or to mine a coin was more than the electricity, and obviously you've got sunk equipment costs and stuff like that. But those people that were mining it for $250 10 or 12 years ago, that looks like a pretty good investment now for sure. But anyway, I think that's kind of interesting. Markets have been down basically steadily for about 4 days straight. Down from highs of about 35,000 down to, I think around like 34,000. So probably off 2-3%. I mean, that's significant. Usually 5% starts to indicate you're going into bear market territory. If you have 12 straight you're looking at 12 straight negative trading days. Typically, you start calling it a bear market and a correction. So we're kind of getting into that zone a little bit here with the markets. I'll still keep buying it. To me, it's value-based buying. I mean, I just buy, every week. Some goes into my Roth IRA automatically on my wife and I's checks. So we're S corp employees of my company, so we can take advantage of payroll benefits and things like that. And then I have a certain amount until my kids go to private high schools that I put away every week. I don't know when that hits next year, when it's like $2,000 a month for my kids' high school, then I don't know that I'll be saving quite as much money.
Matt is easily the most aggressive saver that I know. I've learned this about Matt. Very aggressive saver.
I save about 40% of what I make. That's going to change a little bit next year with kids going to private high school. Unless Made Central starts making me a lot more money, then I'll
We're trying.
I'm rooting for you, Matt. I'm rooting for you.
I've got to pull my weight there, so I've got to bring on new users and help them be successful. So, I do believe in saving, and I do believe that that's probably most of our best path to wealth is saving versus getting lucky on something.
Yeah. And save up, because the high school costs more, but you haven't seen the fun part yet. It gets worse.
Yeah.
I know. And we've done a lot with our kids for their savings accounts. So they have 529s, and they're employees, and I give them work every week and count their hours and pay them through the business. So I think there's ways that you can help with that, through your own business, and make sure your kids have some tools. So
Denise asking if we have any more surprises about new staff at Made Central.
Just you wait.
Yeah, I mean, we can't put all our cards on the table in one day. We kind of string this out a little bit, but yeah, Dan Smith has joined our team, Chief Customer Support Officer. I think I got the title right. Basically, he's going to be running our customer support. We think we have an awesome software platform, but we've known all along that there's a lot of work in it to provide the necessary training and customer support to go along with it. And, we've got talented people, but we don't have all the tools and processes and knowledge bases built in a way that needs to. So we're going all in on the customer support side of Made Central, and it's going to make it more useful for our users. And we're excited about Dan being part of the team. He's an awesome dude.
He is. Super smart guy.
I look at this as like an investment in building another feature for the software that's like an incredible feature that makes your life better, because the support, is going to really make using the software like easier to use and better to understand. So I am really excited about this investment in the software. So we've been talking about it for a while, and it just, Dan materialized as somebody that has the experience and has the know-how that really fit. But I do think we are looking to grow the team. I mean, we're adding a ton of users, and we're going to need to expand our support team and look for talented people. So maybe Denise, maybe you want to apply.
I'm getting ready to say, anybody out there looking for a side gig, hit me out.
To me, I'll just message me. I'll put in a good word. Okay.
No. So smart investment moves. No, we're not qualified to do that. We need a disclaimer. Actually, please do not follow any investment advice you hear on smart business moves. We, we'll help you with cleaning homes. Talk to your other professionals on how to invest. So we're here today for the week. We're talking about leadership, and we had an awesome call Monday. Had some technical issues with Coach RJ's coach, and we're going to try to get him back on here in a couple of weeks because, he was a genuinely
The real thing.
yeah, you could just feel it that this guy had something to share that we would all benefit from hearing, and we really weren't able to do that as well as we could have. And call this selfish. I want to hear it. We'll everybody else can join us. Okay.
Joe might have a hard stop, so maybe we want to dive into.
We do have a hard stop. I am
picking his brain.
I do too.
Okay, so we all do. So
yeah.
When COVID started a little over a year ago, Joe, Matt, and I basically kind of formed a ad hoc support group. I guess you could call it the peer group, call it whatever you want to, but we were talking, like on a daily basis there for a while, just trying to figure out, what we needed to do as leaders within our organization to lead through these unprecedented times. It was, uncharted waters. And I think we learned a lot. We learned a lot about ourselves. We learned a lot about running our businesses. It's a lot of what we learned, I think, has as much value today in what I'll call post-pandemic. Can I say that now, or at least we're moving in that direction?
Post issues we're going to get for a while.
Yeah, feels like it. Getting there.
A new phase. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So, thank you. We were awesome from the beginning. Okay.
Thanks, Robin.
That's appreciated. So, Joe, you're share with us a little bit about what those experiences were like in some of the discussions and, the activities that we were doing. How was that tying into to leading our organizations and just the experience?
I was thinking about this question this afternoon, and the thing that sticks out most in my mind is fear, and how talking about what's my biggest takeaway from the past. Well, it's not even been 12 months now. When it's been 14 months at this point.
Yeah.
Right.
It doesn't seem that long ago, does it?
No, it doesn't. And I still remember, calling Tom when I was thinking of closing the business, and I'm looking at my numbers in Made Central, and I'm looking at the predicted revenue for the coming weeks, and it was doing this because so many customers were canceling. And I realized I got to a point, you got to know your numbers. And I got to a point where I realized, I'm going to lose more money by staying open than I would by completely closing all the way. But something that sticks out to me is when you take the fear away as a leader, then so many things become possible, and leading change becomes a lot easier. And I mean, for me, COVID took away a lot of fear. So, because when you're sitting there every day thinking about, wow, I could lose a loved one. I mean, I was worried about my parents. My parents would be high risk. My wife's parents would be high risk. And when you're sitting there thinking about, I could lose a loved one, I could get sick, and you start thinking about fear at the level of loss of life, then everything else just seems petty. And then you realize, hold on a second, I need to make some changes in my business if my business is going to make it through this. And those changes become easier when you take the fear away. And suddenly I felt free to just make a ton of changes. And Matt and Tom and I and Liz, we talked about a lot of this stuff as we were navigating it. And but yeah, taking that fear away was huge, and then you just need to make decisions based on the data you have and use good data to make decisions. But I think that was a big learning for me. If you can take the fear away, you can make some pretty incredible changes. And those changes that we made we're going to stick with them, for the foreseeable future. And some of the changes are cultural in the company, and I think that's really powerful, important stuff. And some of the changes are tactical and structural. So we changed to solos from a team model. And we'd been talking about doing that for years, but we had so many reasons we kept telling ourselves we weren't going to do it. Well, what happens if customers are frustrated because we're in their home for too long, or won't people get lonely working by themselves? And I mean, there was some basis for concern there, but it was all things that could be managed. And COVID just forced our hand, and it was like, we kind of have to do this to comply with social distancing guidelines. So I didn't really see a choice. So fear isn't really a factor anymore. It's just like, we have to do it. There's no other way to go. We have to make this decision and move forward. So, so that's something that's tactical, like a structural change that we made. That's definitely going to stick.
There was a lot of number crunching, though, a lot of mining going through. I mean, we had a lot of data to support some of the decisions we were making. So we weren't just flying blind. And some of that data was useful in making decisions, and some of that data was useful in selling the decisions that were being made to your staff that was going to have to execute, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so we could look at efficiency reports in Made Central together as a team and say, like, look, this is how much work a team can get done and how much they get paid, and this is how much work a solo can get done and how much they get paid. And for folks who had a fear of working on their own or weren't sure how this was going to work for them, we could show them that data and it became more obvious. I think most importantly for my management team, they were fully bought in to the changes because they could see, we could look at the comparisons. And it was like, oh, wow, if we switch to solos, we can, because of the data we could look at that we had available to us in Made Central on efficiency and things like that, we could look and go, wow, a solo person could work a shorter work week and make better money. Like, that seems like a no-brainer. Like, why wouldn't we do that? And by the way, there were a whole bunch of other benefits switching to solos that we didn't really see coming. But yeah, the data has to be there. And it helps me be able to manage too. Something else we could point to is customer satisfaction scores. So it's really easy to track customer satisfaction scores. So, I'm able to look, my team can keep track of customer satisfaction scores, and customers that have solo cleaners were happier. So that was another easy thing to point to. So yeah, definitely data happening there to drive those decisions.
Denise has an interesting question. Is there ever too much data? I got some thoughts on that.
I think there can be. I think you can be overwhelmed by it. Has to be in a format that you can take action on. It has to be actionable data. Would you agree with that, Tom? Like that's where I draw the line.
110%.
Yeah.
I go back to the days when, I mean, there was a time when computer reports were printed on this green folded paper, and you'd print like reports like this deep with numbers in them. And it was a ton of data, but there was nothing useful there because it was just numbers. So, the real art to data is having a bunch of data, but then having it summarized and synthesized and analyzed for you, where it's giving you insight and direction, giving you information that you can use, as Matt said, to make smart business moves.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be actionable, and you have to decide what you're focusing on. I mean, I don't think there's too much data. I think there's maybe too much that you're trying to focus on at once. But like, the more data that can be collected in the background, you never know when you're going to look at a different metric.
That's a better point than I was making. It's not that there's too much data. It's like you can over focus. You can only focus on so many things and move the needle on so many things at once. You can only really have one or two key initiatives that you're really trying to control and move and make big changes on at once in your business. And so you can only hammer on, a couple of key data points at once to make changes. Now you might have like 10 or 15 metrics that are all important to you and you check, but you can only move the needle on a couple at once, really.
And I think that's part of the art of leadership, right? Like, that's something that you can learn from experience. You can also study it and learn to get better at it. But I think that learning what to choose to focus on, something that's a little bit of trial and error. It's also just kind of living the day-to-day of the business. But in my experience, when you're leading a team of people to run the business for you, which is always my goal and is how I run my business, then they can really only focus on 2 things at once, maybe 3, and that's it. So you've got to pick the things that are really going to drive results in other areas.
Yeah.
And I have two other points. One is to Denise, your question specifically. One is, first, you know that in the MMA groups, we hide a lot of your spreadsheets because we don't want you collecting all that data, which goes to my second point, because you're doing it manually. So if you have a way to be able to collect data, and like Matt said, it's running in the background so that whenever you need it, it's going to be there for you. Awesome. But if you're collecting data and you're spending a ton of time manually collecting data and putting it into spreadsheets and doing all of this, I would say yes, there's too much data sometimes. So if you have a great way of collecting it so that it's there and you can use it whenever you want, thumbs up. But don't be spending time, lots of time just collecting. The whole point is, where's the execution? Where's the action? What needs to be managed with this data?
I'll show you some KPIs in a dashboard that I really like to look at. So payroll to revenue is one of the leading indicators whether I'm going to have enough paycheck. Top line revenue is great. We're certainly down from where we were prior to COVID, and almost, approaching almost $40,000 a week. We're certainly down from where we were, but I've still managed to make a lot of profit because we've moved to a solo model now. And we've driven down our revenue to payroll down to around 38% or below every week. And prior to this, we were probably closer to 42%. And I thought that was fine. But moving to the solo method, moving to mostly solos, has really allowed me to drive that down and squeak out a little bit more gross profit. And a little bit by 4% is significant. I mean, that's 4% is hard to do in our business sometimes. So
would you like argue that part of this whole process that we went through, during COVID, in terms of, using the data to drive, our strategy and be better leaders of our company was focusing on the profit side? Everything was changing.
Yeah, it's all I could control.
Yeah.
Because
we did, Tom. We switched over, you and I, for our presentations, to cleaning business profits, because cleaning profit builders, because people needed to spend more time focusing in on profits in a really big way.
It was obvious.
So much more important.
And I really like the cleaning hourly rate. I've really driven that up. So we're generating almost $70 per hour. It's kind of hard to read on this, but it's $69.79. I don't know if you can see that on your screen. Like, I don't know how much bigger I can zoom that in. But yeah, so one of the things that I did was I looked at a lot of commercial work that we were doing that wasn't generating enough, hourly rate, where, they're big contracts and you're squeezing out some gross margins on them. But maybe if I redeploy those 3, 4, 5 people to other things, we could focus on, the new customers that are wanting to come back. Because in the past, I was all very concerned with this number. What was my customer count? We had over 700 customers when COVID started. And, I was very focused on this top line number. How many technicians do I have? How many of this do I have? Of course, I like to see the staff count coming back up. We're back up to about 32 employees when I was closer to 45 prior to COVID, maybe 40. I think my PPP was based on 43. So, 43 prior to COVID. So, of course that all matters, but what really matters is what's left, right? Like I think that's part of my leadership is, and Joe alluded to it. It was, he's looking at all these efficiency reports. We stopped driving anywhere that was more than 11 miles from our office. So we actually canceled 20 customers because they were too far. And we found other providers for them. We didn't just leave them high and dry, but I called, maybe Ashley will watch this, but she's a Noble competitor and a little further out. And I called Ashley and I said, "Hey, Ashley, would you want these customers?" And she was thrilled. Like, right? Like what a conversation, what a gift to give. And she's like, "Well, I have a couple customers that are too far from us." So we reciprocated and helped her out too. So it was two-way. It wasn't as big of a switch, but we were helping each other. And so that was leadership that I wouldn't have had without the right data. And the thing that I really want to point out is my employees are making more per hour than they were prior to COVID because we've raised prices on customers and really focused on profitability and productivity and efficiency, all those kind of keywords. But I'm really driving home that I want my employees to make over $19 an hour, and I think that's in my market that's important. In your markets, it's going to be different, but for my market, $15 an hour is just not enough anymore, right?
It's not going to cut it. No, it's the same. It's the same in our market. So that's another strong data point because we pay by the job or commission pay, as some people call it. I need to be able to show my employees how much they're making effectively per hour, and they get that every week and they can look that up in their dashboard so they can see how much they're making per hour. So they kind of know that now. It makes pay by the job a lot more transparent. I really like pay by the job. It works really well for us. One of the biggest hurdles to that is helping people understand how much they're making on a per hour basis, because that's what most people are used to thinking of their pay in terms of by the hour. So the employees can access all that information in their own portal, so they can see that, and so that's really helped with retention.
And I would say it's not so much making them understand what it is that they're making per hour. It's making it so that they can go and feel confident that what they're making per hour, they can see it with their own eyes. They trust it.
They broken down.
Yeah, they see it. They're like, okay, now I know. Because you can tell them all you want. You can explain it. I know companies that try to do this and they tell them, they print it all out on cute little sheets and tell them how much they're making. That doesn't work. People want to be able to go and look at their own data, because again, data counts.
That's right. And Liz, actually, Tom and I were talking about this earlier today. There's something about the transparency factor of having the data come from a trusted source. So this is like the platform that they use to run their days. Like this is where they get all their work orders. And so they trust the platform, and it's stable and it works well and there's no errors, and like they trust it, so it removes that doubt factor, and they can see it's transparent. It also professionalizes it. You're not giving them. We used to do that, by the way. We used to give people printed out like Excel, reports.
You had to.
It just seems like you could have fudged these numbers. How do I know if you did or not? You know what I'm saying? There isn't as much of as a legitimacy factor there. So having their own thing in their phone they can access anytime, it legitimizes it and professionalizes it.
So I did want to show you, this is what the raw data looks like for that's creating all these charts. And so this is what I mean. This is all useful, and you could use this like an Excel sheet and really rock this. But I do like the visualization of how it's kind of, I can see the trends moving, and I'm a visual person. I like the visual reporting a bit. And I like this. This is a new beta report that's being worked on now. It's not 100% done, but it keeps getting a little bit better every week. I really love this report. It gives me a lot of, visual data that I can use to manage my company.
So to tie this back into leadership and, pre-COVID, during COVID, post-COVID, I mean, some of the stuff we're talking about here was stuff that we were aware of at some level pre-COVID. But COVID really created the opportunity, the sense of urgency to say, come on, guys, we got to get beyond just cleaning a bunch of homes, and we really got to get serious about making money, because we might not be cleaning as many homes. We might not have as many people working for us to clean homes, and all those lessons. I think that we're still learning, but it's a different focus now.
Yeah.
And I will say, because I'm going to have to hop off soon, something else that was a big takeaway from COVID is I used to say that I expect clear, honest, and complete communication from my staff. I think that I didn't have a full enough appreciation for what that kind of communication meant, what it looks like, what it sounds like, and how to actually make it happen in real life. I think we were doing okay, but we clearly had gaps. And, through COVID, because we had to all navigate this crisis together, I remember having this meeting at one point. I picked my 6 highest performing field technicians, and we had just lost a bunch of staff after we reopened. We were closed for 6 weeks. We lost a bunch of staff. And I sat down with them and I just laid it out on the table. And I just said, look, I can't afford to lose any of you. We weren't able to hire people. There's just, the labor market was bad right after COVID happened. It's been bad since, as in a lot of markets it is across the country. I said, I can't afford to lose any of you. And so, like, level with me. What do we need to do here? What do I need to do so that you'll work here for 10 years? I need you to stay through COVID and stay with me for 10 years. And we were just able to have really honest and open conversations about that. And, we heard some hard truths, but most of the stuff we heard was stuff we'd heard before. But, the crisis had a way of bringing it all into relief and making it all seem a lot more urgent. So we overhauled how we schedule, and we gave people shorter weeks with better pay. And we were able to do all this through scheduling and more predictable schedules. And just overhauling our scheduling protocol has contributed huge to both employee satisfaction and customer retention. So
we could do a whole show on what you've done, but the key word that I always come away with is consistency is what you've really created for your employees. And that consistency is what they crave as far as not just our clients, but you want to speak to that before you have to go, or you're at your
I have to, it's a daycare thing. So
okay. All right. We'll talk to you soon.
We said, hey,
but yeah, no, I will, but I will, I have one more minute, and I'll just say that it is about consistency. And my staff, when I asked them that question, they were like, respectfully, we've been telling you for years that we don't like it when you send us to a job at the last minute at the end of our days, or we don't like it when we have to go help somebody out because basically they're too slow, or we don't. So a lot of that had to do with scheduling. So there was perceptions that it was, it's because, this other guy is too slow. Well, that's not really what was going on. It was that other person was being poorly scheduled. And so, a lot of that was fixed with scheduling. So nice. A lot of it was just listening. As I tell my 3-year-old, we have to tweak your listening ears and make sure you're really listening. And so, but the pandemic really helped kind of bring that into relief and help me understand in a new way what it means to really respond, and make the hard changes you need to make and listen to the staff. So the staff that was with us when we reopened from COVID, we have only lost one person. So we came back with 16 people, and since we've reopened, they've all stayed with us except for one, and that's because she went to school for physical therapy. She's changing careers.
That's amazing.
So it's really worked. So that's what I'll say about that. But thank you for inviting me, guys. I appreciate it, and have a good rest of your afternoon. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Joe. As always, much appreciate your help.
Anybody over email, Tom has my contact info, and I'm happy to share if anyone has any questions.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Bye, Joe. So Robin had a question, if you want to read that out.
So Joe and Matt optimized the schedules and clients served. Key takeaways.
I mean, key takeaways were what Joe really said there about that consistency created some really strong loyalty for his employees. And I don't have it down as well as he does, where we are not having our teams help other employees or do any of those things. But we're certainly not having them do extra jobs at the end of the day. We're not selling any last minute jobs. We used to do that, think like, if they're going to be done at noon, well, maybe they want some more work. No, they don't want to be surprised. They're mentally thinking they're done at that point. So if we didn't sell it before that day, we don't do that anymore. We ask them if they want to pick anything up. We don't give it to them without. We're trying to be more conscientious about, meeting them where they are, where the way that Joe described. I learned a lot from Joe during the things. I can't do everything that he's doing yet, but there are a lot of key takeaways about making your job as flexible and as fair and as consistent as you possibly can.
Joe, which the theme of this week is leadership. Joe's a heck of an operator. He's a heck of a leader. I mean, there's not many people I'm not sure if there's anybody in the house cleaning industry I can think of that does it better than Joe.
Yeah.
Joe's
He
is good.
He's a next level communicator as well. Like, you
So
know, like,
that's the thing I was going to say. The thing that I saw change more than consistency or anything else is the leadership. What people were doing before, business owners were managing their businesses. They were managing this piece and that piece and this piece and that piece and this piece. They're like making changes based on what they wanted to see and what they did. And COVID forced the leadership to come forward with people, because it became a matter of having to lead people, and you can't lead people by just pushing on them and telling them what to do. You have to lead people by finding out what they want. Are they interested in following you where you're going, and telling them where you're going and getting them on your boat or your bus? And if you don't do that, you're gonna struggle. And so that's the big change that I heard. Everybody's going from, or not everybody, but a lot of people are going from managing and just doing things and changing and making these things, making these big changes, to leading the people.
yeah. And that's the thing. Like, you do have to get buy-in when you're making big changes. So that's part of what we did was,
And little changes.
and little changes, right? We all know that our employees don't love change. Like, change was never a good thing for them growing up, and it probably doesn't represent, like, you know, best case scenarios for them when we say, hey, we have this great new change for you. Even if it's going to be awesome, you do have to get buy-in. So yeah, Robin, employee centric, everything we did. Stuff
now.
that I learned from Liz was like, we put out videos and communicated. We over communicated, like, through video, like, you know, weekly, maybe more than that. Even during COVID, when we were totally shut down, I was broadcast messaging them a message almost every day of like updates and what's going on, what's next. Even if it was just 5 minutes, we were just keeping them in the loop, especially during the shutdown, because I wanted to stay connected to them. And, that was important. Communicating and getting buy-in. You're right, Liz. That's incredibly important.
You know, we go through the calculations on how to figure out lifetime value of a customer. That same math can be applied to a lifetime value of a cleaning professional, and it's integer values greater in terms of a cleaning professional is worth more to us as cleaning business owners as any client, and, you know, any residential client who gets their home cleaned every other week. And the value of that cleaning professional is going up rather sharply. You know, maybe it's not as volatile as Bitcoin, but it's that number keeps going. And one of the things that Joe's talking about in terms of consistency, we think about scheduling. Customers want to see the same cleaners. Yeah, they do, but cleaners also want to see the same customers. And I think that we underestimated how important that relationship was from the cleaning professional wanting to see the same clients. And that was a lesson learned over COVID.
Yeah.
So Tom, I shared a screen where it kind of like highlights some of the employees' revenue over a 6-month period. And I'll zoom this in if I can a bit.
While Matt's pulling that up real quick too, I wanted to point out another thing that Joe said that I think gets minimized or lost in the shuffle a lot. That most of the time we know what we should be doing, but we don't give it the importance that we should. Instead, we work on this other stuff, these things that we're trying to work on and we're trying to get to. But you heard Joe say he knew all of these things needed to happen, but he had the fear. It was holding him back, keeping him from making those changes. So a really big message coming out of this whole thing is, when you're afraid and you know that something's holding you back, look for ways to finalize on that decision and move forward. I actually worked with Joe on this when we were in foundations because he was struggling with a couple of areas, and just pulling the trigger and making it happen. That's not easy, especially when you don't know what the outcome's going to be. All right, go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I just was going to show. So, this is one of my top technicians. It's been with me a long time. And And we offer a lot of flexibility as far as like, scheduling. So most of my employees don't really work full-time hours. They're probably average between 25 and 32 hours per week. And this employee probably averages close to about 26 hours a week. This is over 6 months. You can do math. They've worked 714 clock hours. So you can divide that by 26 and come up with a number for me for somebody if they want to run a calculator. But for a part-time employee, she's generated, equivalent of basically $90,000 a year in revenue. For a part-time employee, she generates $64 a clock hour. Now, we all have employees like this, but what makes this work is because we have the data to say, all right, her survey responses are awesome. This all is working. And so her productivity is higher. So she actually cleans 45% more per hour than what we predict, and yet still generates really good results. You're not going to have all your employees do stuff like this, but when you do, think about what you should reward an employee like this. It's not just their pay. I mean, this is somebody you want to keep around. And as a leader, you want to recognize that person as much as you can. Talk about, wow, your efficiency is amazing. What are you doing? This is like, what can you do to teach other people in our organization to do what you're doing? There might be some lessons learned from some of your key employees by kind of mining the data and seeing, what employees make you the most revenue per clock hour and so forth and so on. And now this is not per job hour. This is revenue per clock hour from the time they clock in to the time they clock out too, right? So, this employee, if it was by job hour, it's even higher, even higher. Divide it by by 80%, I believe, would give you the number. But anyway, so yeah, that's, looking at the data and mining the data is important. But then, when you have people that you have incredible results from, make sure you recognize them. Make sure that's leadership too. Make sure that they know that they're awesome.
Too oftentimes we're looking at the data, trying to find people who've got the attendance problem or people whose productivity is too low, so we can, talk to them, coach them, or hopefully that's our thinking, and that's important. But we certainly want to be, finding our high performers and providing them feedback if they're high performers, and then try to learn from them. Because a lot of times, there's lessons to be learned there. Why is it your productivity is 120%? What are you doing differently?
Yeah. And sometimes you have to help people figure out what that is. A lot of times they don't know either. They're like, well, I just stay busy. I'm just fast. And it's not that. It's more than that. And sometimes you have to help them.
Yeah, well, some of it's like, I want to get home to get my kids and pick my kids up on time, but I still want to make good money. And Lacey, I just did the quick math. She averages about 27 hours a week. I mean, she's a part-time employee generating me, $45,000 over 6 months. In non-COVID times, would that be a little bit higher? Maybe, but I mean, I think she's exactly where she wants to be as far as what she makes. She's just an amazing employee. I can't speak highly enough of her. I mean, and we all have those people in our company that Joe said we got to really keep them. I mean, my goal is to have Lacey work for me for another 10, 15 years. I mean, I don't want her going anywhere. So.
It's been a crazy year, hasn't it?
Boy, understatement there. Understatement there.
Yeah. We're almost, a little over a week away from Memorial Day. And, people are getting vaccinated and things are getting back to normal. It's kind of hard to get your mind wrapped around.
Yeah, that did change. The guidelines changed really fast. Like we're all kind of, processing that data at the moment now, aren't we?
Yeah. So, part of, lessons learned from a leadership perspective, I know that, we all embraced a lot of safety precautions from a PPE standpoint and a lot of additional training. Heck, we got together, I guess, probably out of just nervous energy, and actually built some training programs and put them on an LMS and basically, turn that over to ARCSI. But, the whole idea of training and safety and PPE, I think those are all, changes that took place during COVID, and some of the PPE might soften a little bit, but I don't think it'll ever look like it did pre-COVID.
No.
I can't imagine. Although I do know a few companies that are going maskless already. If their people are vaccinated, they're going maskless, and they've backed off the gloves. So there are people doing, going as much back as they can. I don't think anybody's not using a disinfectant these days.
Right.
But
And do our customers, do the consumers look at cleaning differently now than they did pre-COVID? Some of them definitely do.
I think the market is different for sure. For whatever reason, there's a lot more demand, whether there's more money in the market, less people, maybe it feels like more demand than we've had before. I need to look at the data and see how many lead requests we're getting and compare it to like 2019 and see if it's significantly more or if it's just that we're just so understaffed. Maybe it's not crazy.
Feels like it.
Yeah. Yeah. Customers aren't leaving either though. Like, we're doing a good job as far as masks goes, as far as leadership that we're providing in my company. Every market's different. If you work in a market that, has different values and whatnot, you'll be able to do things differently and it would make more sense. But for us, we've told our staff that, we're going till July 1st. If a customer asks you if you're vaccinated and you feel comfortable telling them and they offer to let you take your mask off, that's fine. But that's between you and the customers. Like we're telling them they need to wear the mask unless the customers explicitly, tell you that it's okay for you not to. We'll probably go to a policy where we let them go mask free if someone's not home by July 1st. And then we'll kind of run a hybrid model after that. So if you're looking for ideas, that's what I'm doing in more of a big urban center. St. Louis is, fairly different than, probably if you're in the suburbs in Dallas or wherever people are, it's going to be different. What people's, comfort level is.
But, I would also think building upon, some of the lessons learned on the communication side, the context of leadership, that we would be having communications certainly within our company with our team members, but also with our clients, kind of explaining, the evolution of this. And, I'm thinking it might be a good idea to say if particular clients would like for us to continue to wear some of this additional PPE, that certainly is an option. Please let us know.
Yeah, if you have the ability to track it, you could use tags in your software. Almost every software has the ability to use tags or something like that. You could create a face mask tag and track that as a request. I think you could have. I actually think PPE requests are going to be common. Like we used to have shoe cover requests, and we have tags for shoe covers. And we may have mask tags here. Towards the end of the year, where there's certain customers that do request that we wear masks. That's a good point.
Some clients are allowing us to not use a mask in their homes. We let the clients tell us what they prefer regarding the mask. Yeah, I think that's where it's going to be going. And I would suspect there's going to be some clients here going past July that are going to still prefer that people wear masks.
And I know at least one company in Chicago that they will be wearing masks forever now. That's part of their new model, is that they're going to be the safest company out there, and that you don't have to worry about the next time some big superbug comes along, they'll already be doing everything. So that's kind of their message.
Yeah. And that's interesting. Yeah.
Come another summer of this, I'm going to be thinking that that's going to be hard. I'm conscious of my employees' comfort as well. If we can do it safely without masks, I'd like to be able to give them the option if there's customers that are comfortable with it as well. But I am very conscious of the fact that my market is not quite there yet, that things changed really fast. And we hosted a gathering for a neighborhood, like a block party, and a lot of the people were still wearing masks outside, where in other parts of the country, masks outside you'd be laughed at, right? Like that would be, it's all different everywhere. So But a lot of the elderly neighbors that came out, and I don't want to say elderly, but like in their 70s plus, that word can get a negative connotation. I don't want to say, but they were some of my retiree neighbors.
Thank you, Matt.
Retiree 70 plus neighbors. They were still wearing masks outside, and I was a little bit, taken aback. But when I was near them, I went ahead and I wear these neck gaiters, so I went ahead and pulled my thing up just to make them feel comfortable because I wanted to respect their norms. So that's part of leadership. I think we're gonna have to navigate this in our own space and our own companies differently everywhere.
Yeah.
And your people need to be led differently than Tom's people, my people, right? Your people, because people need what they need, and who you have in your company needs something different from you. You have to pay attention to that.
But what our people are going to be looking for and expecting, I think post-COVID, that's looking different too. I mean, salary expectations, just all the, benefits and flexible schedules, and, those are lessons learned through COVID that I think are going to be very valuable for us moving forward, because leading our team post-COVID is going to look different than it was pre-COVID.
Absolutely. Well, we've been talking a lot about that. Expectations have changed, and expectation is the big thing. When expectations change, you have to get on board with that. You have to have communication about it. We preach that a lot. Unmet expectations is the number one source of dissatisfaction. So
that's basically what I think one of the best definitions of quality. A quality outcome is, expectations are clearly defined and then they're perceived to have been met. And if you're able to do that consistently, you've got awesome quality.
Absolutely. And if you don't know that already, that's already what's happening, you guys. That's the definition that your customers are already using. They're not judging anything other than what they think they're going to get and whether or not it was delivered consistently. If it is, they think you have great quality. And you guys all know this too. You all know that you have that one employee that is so great at talking up all of the customers, and she knows how to hit the exact things that the customer cares about, but the other things, not so much, right? You've all seen it. You send another team in there and they're like, that house was filthy. Don't clean that other stuff because she's getting a 99% rating over there. She knows how to clean it. So your people know how to deliver on that know how to deliver on what the customer wants and cares about. They're the ones making you money. That's Lacey. That's your Lacey, Matt. She knows how to deliver on the expectations of the client.
Although, man, you know what? She cleans my house from time to time, and it's a pretty big house, and it'll take her 2.5 hours, and it'll take a team of 2.5 hours sometimes. And I can't tell the difference between who cleaned it. I mean, it's like, she's so good. So yeah, I mean, it is interesting. Like, when you have employees like that, you need to value them, recognize them. And, that's maybe not part of our topic for today, but leading them to want to stay with your company.
It makes you wonder though, if there was a way that you could use her in a training capacity or just a case study or something. I mean, if she's that much better and gets the outcome that much more quickly, how do you take that and leverage it through your company?
Yeah, I'm going to put you on the hot seat here, Matt. What does she do differently?
I mean, I think she just constantly moves and she has a good pattern. It's just the stuff that we all are supposed to be doing, but she never is like the backtrack. I mean, it's just very smooth and efficient. She always starts in the same place. It's just, she follows really good patterns and cleans really efficiently.
So I would say, don't guess, get a list.
Yeah.
These 10 things, this is what you need, or start with the top 3.
I'll have Connie go follow her for a day and make her uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Shoot video. We're going to do side by side in terms of this is what it's supposed to look like, and then shoot video of somebody that's got lower productivity cleaning the same space. And
She,
Could
yeah,
take a
you're right.
moment, right?
She would be a good case study, and I think that would probably, help us, across the board generate better results. You're right. You're right.
And you guys are good at video.
Yeah.
You know how to utilize video better than almost anybody I know.
Yeah, but I'm usually the one that shoots it, and I'm really on this other project right now, so I'm not shooting as much video as I used to shoot. Like video is video is one of my hobbies, and I'm really quite good at it. I will admit that I am a fairly skilled videographer, but the editing part takes up a few hours here and there. I'm a little short on time these days.
Yeah.
We actually did some smart business moves months past where you were sharing some tips and giving us just kind of a overview on how to get started with editing video.
Yeah,
some really good tips.
The editing is what takes the time, because you can shoot all the video you want, but then you got to be able to tell a story and make it compelling. And it's like, and then that's off topic today. But I think video is a really good way to engage and learn. And I think we all could be better at that. It's a useful tool.
Yeah.
So we're approaching the top of the hour, and again, Liz is telling us to go out and buy Bitcoin. It's
okay. That's not what I said, Liz. You just got here, so if you're thinking that I really said go out and buy Bitcoin, that's not what I said.
Yeah.
What's our topic next week, Tom? What are we talking about next week?
It's a surprise. Do you know?
I don't. You usually do.
I'll look it up. I've got
All right. So I'm curious. We have two minutes here, and I would love to hear from anybody that is on Smart Business Moves today about any big leadership changes that you had to make in your company, or things how you had to step up and be a better leader for your people. Did you guys see that happen as well? Or were you just sort of spinning? What were your experiences? I'm curious about that. Because I think there were a lot of opportunities for everybody.
While they're typing, I'll tell you, I was the fittest I've ever been in my life. I ran a 1:45 half marathon because I was running every day just to clear my mind. I never have ever run a sub 2 hour half marathon before, and got down to like 1:45 8-minute miles, which is not fast, but for a big guy, like I'm moving.
You're not that big anymore, though, Matt. You can't use that anymore.
No, but 6'3", like I 6'3", 240. I'm like, that's skinny.
You're a bigger guy for sure.
6'3", 240 is skinny for me. That's like looking kind of gaunt. I mean, I'm a big bulky guy. Like, played hockey. Yeah, there's not, some weight's never going to go away. I'm never going to be 180-pound guy, right?
Yeah.
So I channeled a lot of that into like just thinking and running for a while. So I will say that the shutdown was actually one of my favorite periods of my entire life, because I got to really think and strategize in ways that I never got to think before, and just take the time to really like process some things. And I'd go out on 2-hour runs like it was nothing, and I would just think the whole time about, what do I need to do? What do I need to be doing? And, it was very meditative, and I would process a lot of information.
Nice, Robin. Long-term value of employee and retention. Just putting more time, energy, focus there. Awesome.
Great, Robin. That's going to be the long-term value of customers. We always talk about what's the LTV. Man, the long-term value of an employee. We need to come up with a formula for that, Tom, because I feel like that's really.
We have one.
Okay, well, we need
to build it. We don't have it in the software yet, but we can show you how to calculate it. It's.
And that number, that's a great number to be tracking.
Well, we should turn that into like a download or a worksheet for people that aren't on the software that they can use too. We should create something with that, because I see a lot of value around employee issues.
We have a spreadsheet to do it, so we can easily do that.
On your next live that you do, Matt, where you're doing the presentation, that'd be a great one.
All right. Well, I will. I'll look at that spreadsheet. I think that, Robin, you're right on the money, man. Employees are the gold of our businesses, and we've often, tried to think that adding customers is really where the gold is at, but it's really in developing those employees. People have told it to us for years, and I think we haven't listened as well as we should have until now.
Part of that is because the focus hasn't been on the profit, though, because without the profit, you can't do what you need to do in terms of building, jobs that fit that model.
Really good.
True. I think this whole thing has been a really good opportunity for us to rework our businesses in ways that are better for our employees, better for our customers, and better for our bottom lines. I think this has been, it's been a great year. It's been a great year in a lot of ways to rebuild in again, like better jobs for your employees, better outcomes for your customers. So, and then just, better outcomes for ourselves, more profits, more success.
Building a valuable business. It is at the top of the hour, a smidge past. Liz, I can't find our spreadsheet, but I promise you, we have topics for next week, and it's going to be good. And we're going to be here Monday, 5 o'clock Eastern.
We'll get it out there, y'all.
Yeah, well, just keep an eye on Facebook. We'll get that posted here in the next day or so. Matt, thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Matt. Appreciate
Awesome.
it.
Thanks for everybody that joined.
Bye, you guys. I'm heading out, you guys.
We'll see you Monday, 5 o'clock Eastern.
I'll see you tomorrow, Tom. Bye.